Our carefully put up stone rows have been demolished by the pigs, as you can see in the background. They just don't really care about order. But at least they don't eat any of the young trees or herbs, so I'm fine with them being outside for now.
Hi, I'm Scarlett, and I started a permaculture project on the east coast of Mallorca. Follow along as I document the whole process of transforming this derelict piece of land into a Mediterranean food forest.
Good morning and welcome back to another video. Exactly 2 years ago I started planting our subtropical food forest here on this part of land, here in Mallorca. So I thought it's about time that I show you our progress. As you can see at the moment we have a lot of these big nice flowers called asphodelus, and they're very popular with the bees, but they make it really difficult for me to pass and for other flowers to grow. Some of these flowers are taller than the trees we've planted, so it's about time that they make space for something new.
In the Mediterranean climate, plant growth peaks in winter. With all the rain we've had, everything has been growing wild. We've been weeding around our trees and herbs by hand, and now I'm using a brush cutter to mow the corridors between the tree lines. Originally, I had planned to let the pigs handle the task through rotational grazing. However, as I explained in my last video, that didn't work out as expected. So now they're just free-ranging, digging up whatever and wherever they want.
Well, that was unexpected. We were just out in the sunshine and all of a sudden there was a little hailstorm. I think it wasn't enough to damage the trees or anything, but definitely a big surprise. And funny enough, we had a similar event 2 years ago before I planted the first tree for our food forest. There was tons of snow, so never underestimate the weather here in Mallorca.
The weather on the Balearic Islands is quite unpredictable. While we enjoy plenty of sunny days, it's always wise to be prepared for sudden weather changes. I decided to postpone filming my garden tour for a sunnier day. The following week brought strong winds and heavy rain, but luckily we had one beautiful sunny day, just in time for our first workshop. A group of curious participants from all over Europe gathered to learn more about organic gardening. We spent the day in the vegetable garden, explored organic fertilizers, prepared a no-dig garden bed together, and ended the course with a delicious shared meal. Check our website to enlist in one of our future events.
Another very rainy week has passed and we finally have some sunshine back for me to show you the progress in our food forest. We've been quite busy the last 2 years and a lot of things have changed, especially the animals that we've got, especially the pigs that helped a lot clearing the land and digging everything up and also making a bit of a mess. Now that they're free-ranging out here in the food forest, our carefully put up stone rows have been demolished by the pigs, as you can see in the background. They just don't really care about order. But at least they don't eat any of the young trees or herbs, so I'm fine with them being outside for now. To really show you how much this land has changed, I'm gonna go back 2 years to show you how it looked before.
I started planting the food forest in spring 2023, and after 2 years of hard work and 2 harsh Mediterranean summers, it's time to see how much the land has changed. In order to start our food forest, I had to prepare the land first, which meant in my case that I bought a water tank, had a digger come in to dig all the holes into our solid rock base, cut back or remove the bigger bushes that were taking over the space of our old almond trees. We also distributed compost to all the existing fruit trees and pruned them. We chipped most of the wood to use it as mulch and added the rest as biochar. This took us all winter, so we planted the trees at the last possible moment before the summer arrived. We planted the first 2 rows of the new trees on March 29th. Over the summer, I slowly filled in the gaps with bushes and herbs. In autumn, we dug holes for 3 more rows of trees, planted a line of grasses below, and started building little stone barriers to keep organic matter in place. We sowed green manure by winter and continued to spread compost to enrich our very depleted soil. Last summer, we completed our syntropic food forest with the last 2 of 6 lines of trees, and are still in the process of filling in the gaps with more greenery in all layers. Our system wouldn't be complete without our pigs that came last autumn to till and aerate the soil and donate their manure as fertilizer.
This is the first line of trees that we started planting exactly 2 years ago on our first Permabliss. I wish I could take credit of the huge difference in greenery you can see today. But honestly, a huge factor, of course, is the weather. We've had a super nice, very rainy winter this year. But of course, I did a lot of other things to improve the soil quality here on this land. We've been distributing heap loads of compost. We installed an irrigation system to keep our trees, shrubs and herbs alive during the harsh summers. And with the help of my pigs, we're slowly changing the vegetation in between the tree lines as well.
Ready to compare our land now to 2 years ago?
I'm gonna show you the plants that have been doing the best, because I know a lot of you also want to start a project in a similar climate. So here are our biggest successes so far. A must-have in any Mediterranean food forest is a lemon tree, and this one has been doing great so far. We had our first harvest in the first year already. I am particularly happy about this orange tree, which was one of the first we've planted 2 years ago, and it has finally the first flower buds ready to bloom, which means we're gonna have some fruit hopefully this year. It hasn't really grown much, as you can tell. It is still shorter than me, so about, I don't know, 1.50 m maybe, but it looks healthy and I am very excited about the first harvest. And then we have our madroños, or strawberry trees, that also are flowering for the first time, and they grew so much. Of course, all the native plants aren't that big of a surprise that they're doing that well here, but we have some exceptions, like this tree over here, which is our guava tree, and as you can tell, it is already taller than me. To me, this was the biggest surprise, since it is a tropical tree, but it is super happy here in this climate. The further down I walk in our land, the younger the trees are, because I started with only 3 rows and then added an additional 3 rows the second year. So these trees are still super young and I am still working on filling in the lines with perennial vegetables, herbs, bushes, and whatever I can find to optimize the system. Of course, not all the trees were successes. The one I struggled most with is this poor baby right in here, which is an avocado tree, and both of them really struggle with the wind during the winter, which is why they're wearing these little coats. But they're still alive and have some new growth coming up, so I'm just gonna keep feeding them with lots of compost. They get some additional water from the duck's pond, and let's hope that they get established soon. I'm also super proud that we've been able to save most of our almond trees that have been neglected for so long, and they have nice fresh leaves here, so I'm hoping to have a better almond harvest this autumn. A little snack on the way before I finish the tour, because there is another storm coming up soon, so I'll better wrap it up. Here you can see a nice example of one of the guilds that we've planted together. So with each tree that we've planted, there are a lot of other plants growing around it that are benefiting from the irrigation system that is meant for the tree, but obviously also is going to feed everything around it. In this case, we have some native herbs growing over here, then some of the wild fennel above my head, and then some fava beans right here that are fixing nitrogen in the ground that will then help the tree to grow. And then around the corner we have some alfalfa, which has the same purpose, and another native herb. All of these herbs and legumes are covering the soil and therefore the root system of the tree. And as soon as this tree will get some new leaves, it will then shade the plants below it as well. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. So yeah, this is how our food forest looks 2 years in. I have planted over 50 fruit trees and a lot of companion plants, herbs, shrubs, bushes, grasses, in order to have a forest-like system where all the plants complement each other and help each other grow as healthy as possible. Plants all take their time. Some of them grow a bit quicker than others, but there is still a lot to do and a lot of gaps that I can fill in with more plants. So my goal for this year is to optimize the system, see what's doing good, propagate from the plants that are thriving, and continuously adding organic matter and organic fertilizer to this depleted soil. Today I'm going to plant some more artichokes in between the trees of row 5. As you can see, they have been quite successful this year with all the rain, and we have our first flower coming up. As I already said, I think the comparison between this year and 2 years ago is not entirely fair to really show what the permaculture principles can offer for a land because of the heavy rains that we had. So to really see the successes of the practices of regenerative agriculture and permaculture, you just need to follow this channel and wait for next year's update. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.